Channel 347, you're hallucinating state of nations today. Um, well, it was an interesting day because, all the papers claimed the second wave coming um, and we have got a song, right? And we've got a song, it's coming later. It's called I'm Gonna Fly. They announced the second wave of Corona coming, which is, like the Imperial Oxford College, which is kind of an interesting place because if you've done any research at all, notice that Oxford was on a river called presently called the Thames, which used to be known as the river. Well, you can check it in Oxford, right? There's a little stretch of the river called Isis, still there, and it predates anything that Rome might have uh, since renamed, right? Thames, Them. It's like an old English thing, isn't it? The Them. But you can guarantee that was post the Empire. And what's empire if it's not empirical? Well, the government, as it stands, takes all its advice from the Imperial College in Oxford, right? And it ignores completely all the other advice coming from quite a few doctors, right? Doctors of medicine who are saying there is absolutely no evidence of a second wave coming, even if there wasn't a first wave ever there anyway. So it's like, you have to have a name, right, before you can influence people. And when I walked into, there was a few places I walked into today. One was B&M, and the other was Waitrose. And I can tell you, I was the only one not wearing a mask. And it kind of signals a little truth going on in that everybody's frightened by what they're being told. So they're kind of obeying, and they've got all the evidence they need anyway. So people are falling all the time for it, and it's getting worse, right? It's not getting better; it's getting worse. In the last few days, I've noticed, I'm walking into those places. I have a mask with me, right? Okay, and there are some places I will put it on, but they're only connected with like those independent small shops that and charities, right? Charities do, and I need charity who provide cheap, affordable clothes for those who might be, undernourished or underfed. And so, like, I'm prepared, right? For. I walked into a shop the other day, and I kind of said, do you insist on the mask here? And they assured me they did. Which I put it on just to look at a couple of fucking t-shirts, which was fine because I bought a couple as well. And this was one, you can't see it because it's dark. And it's like people are being fed a story, right, which they haven't got one clue about how to deal with it. Because it's kind of coming from on high. Politics. Which is what? Well, politics is as Zappa used to often say, is the playground of the military-industrial complex. I don't know. You need to think about that for a tiny little second, maybe, because when we're talking about breakaway civilizations, you can guarantee, right, that since the Second World War, there have been movements in technology, which at the time, right, were already known for discussing UFOs. Okay, they were already known. The Nazis were known for experimenting with UFO technology. Which what? Second World War ended, right? And who took up the mantle? But America, with go paperclip, right? Remember paperclip? Okay, so who became the nation that took on the kind of technology that the Nazis were developing, UFO technology? Okay, who? Well, it was America, right? So I'm talking breakaway civilizations. And if you want to get close to flying, as like Parsons might have done, I can't remember the Christian name, but he experimented with rocketry until he was killed. Then you'll know about flying. Get all sorts of pubs here. It's like normally it's runners doing their military, trying to keep fit. I got nothing wrong with fitness. Kind of fitness is a kind of interesting dynamic when it comes to a penis. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna fly. It's one for the kids, right? On the wings of an eagle. We have to get on the wings. I'm gonna fly on the wings of an eagle. I'm gonna study. I'm gonna study. Yeah. I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go down every breath. I'm gonna get to know each blade of grass. I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna fly on wings of and halfway through the song, right, I'm just gonna give you a, because I suddenly got reminded of why it came about, and it was really to do with Well, you know, the next line is, right, hey, I'm gonna fly on the wings of, yeah, from a story, an old story, right, that, because I used to have an old French girlfriend, right, who was from Lyon in the days of my distant past. And she turned up in a place called Newcastle, where I was studying at the time, fine art. And of course, got to know her. And um, well, she was from Lyon, and she used to play me French ballads, which, you know, to tell you the truth, I kind of hated. Right, I didn't understand the word. And she said, you know, listen to the words. Just listen to the words, right? So the songs that I was being I was being kind of taught on, in a sense, were French, and I've got an appreciation of French kind of history, because, you know, when it comes to revolution, the French always did, you know, something slightly more um, radical than the English ever did, which was, you know, be radical, right? The French did it. And the French history, if you look at film, also it took a line out of the American film noir and created its own version of it. There's plenty of examples. So, you know, there's a French story here, right? And she said, listen to the words, because, you know, even though the song might sound um, strangely kind of romantic, if you listen to the words, it's not at all. It's kind of completely flying in the face of any kind of romanticism there ever might be. It's nothing to do with romantic. It's going, this is fucking radical. I'm gonna fly on the wing. Oh, 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 I'm gonna let you down. Gonna bring you to the ground. I'm gonna sprinkle you today, and then gonna bury you 50 billion years beneath the sea. I'm gonna fly on the wing, on the wings of I'm gonna fly. I'm gonna fly. On the wings of gonna fly. just had someone who they've been listening to my. Well, here's another one. It's not. This is not anywhere near. Time still plays with. So it's really a warning, right, to those who are feared out by those things which come from the establishment of stroke media, stroke government. Because they're trying to feel out with evidence that just doesn't stand up. If you look to all the evidence coming from all the doctors who aren't the Imperial College of fucking Oxford, they're saying that there's absolutely no evidence for a second wave, even if there was one for a first. And this is where you got to start looking into data and statistics, because they have a magic, right, which goes very much with Imperial. You know, think of the name. It kind of ties in, because it's like you're being led by a magician, right, who has got you by the fucking Corona, and it's kind of nothing to do with any kind of truth there ever was, because, well, you know, like I'm next year I'll be in my 6-6, right? Which, you know, you add another 6 and you can add a fucking devil to it. Next year, that's coming up, 2021. It's a significant year. Beware, right? And in the last 20 years, right, I kind of refused all help whatsoever to do with medical help, except that which was so came from my own being human, right? Which was I believe that our immune system works absolutely fine, right? And it always has done, if only you were to listen to yourself, right? Because far from not being the most complex system in the universe, and like you can add this to, you know, an alien story, which, well, you know, how do you know, right? If previous civilizations didn't evolve, right, out of being so-called human into extraterrestrial beings who aren't gone, are still here. How do you know? You don't. So it's like, because you've been given a story, so you don't know for sure. It's not science, right? Okay, but you can, if you're so onto it. It takes a little bit of getting onto it. Science, I'm calling it a science because it is a science. Gnosticism, right, which is the science of self-knowledge. Science, your own story, which has a beginning and, you know, like so-called ends, which don't end because they're infinite. And for yourself. But you won't get onto that unless you discover the light within And then she discovered a light, which is initiated by, just said it, previous timeline, sparks of self-initiation. Okay, so, it's not just saying it, it's walking a path. No, you're just going to light your own real fire. Okay, so it's like find a tree, which is your perch. That's your perch. That's what Carlos Castaneda used to talk about. Finding your perch, your seat, upon which, you sit before you fly. Every eagle is the same story. They come out with an egg, right? And they don't know what's going on except to say they have to go and find a perch, right? To sit there, right? To contemplate what's going to happen when the wings, let go of themselves and they fly. Carlos Castaneda used to say, well, he was part of the shaman story, which, goes back way when, and everybody misinterpreted it because he was supposed to be writing some kind of document on archaeology when he decided to go and visit a shaman in Mexico, and they'd all been killed off, right? Because he actually described that. By 1942, interesting date, in Mexico, right, the locals had decided that the shamans were not to be trusted, so they kind of ended up killing them all off. There's a few. There are always a few. And these are windows, right? These are windows which you have to kind of go through. You can't just sit on the outside, you have to go through the window. Because all it is a window onto another reality. There's different realities. There's more than one. You've heard science talk about multi-dimensional reality, but you haven't actually understood what the fuck that means yet, because you haven't stopped. You haven't stopped with the information you got from when you were a kid, right? And the stop is reject. It's a lie. All of it. The whole fucking lot is a lie. So there's no way you can do anything about that lie unless you stop and you clear the data out completely. You have to clear your head of all the data you've been given and ground zero it. In other words, you've got a right and left brain. It's funny that, isn't it? I kind of like, that's actually my left brain, but you're looking at me saying right, because that looks right where you are, but it's not. It's left. That's the left brain. And a right brain. What's the right brain? The right brain is the intuitive, artistic response to immediacy. It doesn't know anything else. It's not the left brain is what? A library of information. It stores information up in, like Alexandria's library. It's all up there. That's the left brain. It stores information. Well, since you've been a kid, you've been programmed to store information in the left brain. Your consensus reality gives us the left brain. It's just got crap in it. So what I'm saying is you have to clear it out because it's rubbish, a whole lot. And start from zero again. Right? So you have to clear out the lies, and then you have to find an empty space. Well, you've still got a library there, right? You can fill it with things. So, you need to think about what things you're going to fill it with. And that's the change, right? Because as soon as you start filling it with the right things, then the right brain interacts with the new information coming in. So you kind of get eventually a whole being, right? Uninfluenced by the crap that you're taught from year dot. The trick is right to understand a separate reality from the one you know, and start to listen to those who know, already know. They've been there, they've done it. There are many, right? You just need to tap into those who are kind of telling you something. And they're still trying it, the government is still trying it. And they're very successful because, you know, you go into any department store, say, and it's like today, I noticed I was the only one not wearing a mask. All of the whole, you know, whole thing's changed. It's become even worse than it was, right? Because people are what? Yeah, well, you know, you call yourself radical? No, you're radical when you kind of start questioning everything properly. You're not radical until then. You're just a wet pussy. Get real.